I can do our start for the meeting. Although we should probably wait for Cliff since I think he's doing everything.
I can play AJ. It's your contest. You're not doing the entire meeting.
It's like I'm gonna go in there and be like, hey.
I'll pretend
no one's
to be
new. Moving on. We all know about this shit. It's the same stuff from last week. Videos are posted. Now on to my stuff. On to something fun. Not this boring shit AJ does. So is AJ gonna be here today?
No, he's like at a conference all week or something.
Yeah, but his last thing was at like 1 today, and it was gonna be like 1 or 2 hours, and then he was gonna drive back.
Oh.
And he said if he did make it, it wouldn't be until like 7 probably.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know if he was still gonna try and make it, or if he was just gonna ditch.
What about me?
Yes, 4 people. 4 is a good number.
Are you presenting something today, or are you saving that?
I can present something today.
Sure.
I mean, if it's literally 4 people and no one's in the stream, I would just save it for next week.
Yeah.
Or
do literally whatever you want.
Alright, I won't be here next week.
Or whenever.
Alright, I can say for whenever it's.
If you want to present it, you can.
It doesn't really matter to me.
I mean, you could present it this week, and then you could re-present it in a few weeks. That's all I care.
This is like not a real meeting. It's like anything that happens here.
Do any of you guys want to see malicious Halo generation?
Sure.
Okay, sure. Is this the Venom or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Okay. Let's give it like another. Chris isn't coming today, right? Because he's got a file.
Maybe.
Although he was just in Slack. I guess I should sign in.
I feel like there's probably some weeks where I'm like the only name, if I remember. I feel like people don't remember ever. I never remember. There's a few weeks where I was here that I'm not in here.
And I was talking to AJ like 2 weeks ago about maybe like setting up a Wi-Fi point or like a Raspberry Pi with like a monitoring interface, and whenever it sees our phone's MAC addresses, it just tries to sign in that network.
Ooh, fancy.
You have a rotating MAC address.
Then that would not work at all. Do you have a rotating MAC?
No, I don't. I don't. Well, if we don't have a major.
Okay, guys, let's start. No, I'm not gonna try and do an AJ voice. Hi, I'm AJ. Anybody new? I'm looking around, see any new faces.
I do.
Okay. Well, here's oh God, I'm not doing that whole studio. Corey's freaking VirtualBox tutorials are up on YouTube.
Well, the first 2 parts are off. I need to do a 3rd video on the different network types that you can choose from, like host only, etc.
Yeah, so
But
go watch
how to
those.
make a virtual machine in VirtualBox and set it up is there.
Yeah, so that'll be super duper with our noobs. Our managed switch game, which is the one that's going to be for the lab rather than for like the server room, like for all the desktops and stuff in there. We also got cables in, but most of them are Cat 5e instead of Cat 6 because Franco didn't use the link I sent him and found his own. So we may or may I need the email if we are returning
They
them.
should still work. They just won't be as fast, right?
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. We have like $200,000 in servers. You think we could spend the extra 50 cents on the more expensive cable?
You would think, but I mean, Franco already bought us these cables, so I guess worst comes to worst in like a year or whatever, when we've got more funding, we'll just buy some Cat 7 or whatever.
Yeah. If I ask him, maybe we can get them returned, and then I don't know. Not a big deal. Yeah, we're also deciding whether or not to use Cubes or to switch to Debian, because Cubes is a freaking nightmare to work with. It's like everything is like in its own like shell, and like getting things to talk to each other is just the worst. And so we're thinking like, yeah, it can do any OS.
Windows 95.
It's like, yeah, it can do any OS, but like with so much work, it's like, why not just have Debian? And if you need another OS, VirtualBox.
Yeah.
So that's but I think AJ wants to have one or two still running cubes.
We're going to be teaching people VirtualBox.
Yeah.
Not like a lab.
I think AJ wants to have like a machine or two running cubes to play with, but I think the main OS and our main image should be Debian.
We should have cubes as a virtual machine that we can make virtual machines within.
I feel like the virtualization ship will just be like, no. It'll just be like, stop. Yeah, that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's boring. I'm an awesome AJ.
Okay, so I assume everyone that's at least here right now remembers Spectre and the Spectre attacks. You know, the Intel vulnerability with.
Oh, I never switched off the starting soon slide.
Did they at least hear everything we've gone?
Yeah, they heard everything, but they didn't see me and they didn't.
Okay,
whatever.
well,
you missed nothing, YouTube. It was just the slide with announcements. I read everything that was on.
No slide before my slides has mattered today, so it's okay. So with the previous Spectre attack, what would happen is some sort of local code execution would be running. It would say, hey, here's a piece of code. What it's going to do is we're going to look at this covert channel, and we're going to, based on the amount of time that these operations are taking, we are going to know what the answer to those operations was, because we can see whether or not it took a long time or a short amount of time. So we know whether or not the guess that the operating system or the processor was running off of was correct or not. That's just a really simplified way of how Spectre works. And NetSpectre was a remote Spectre attack that could be run. Every other version required local code execution. This could just be run by sending packets to the vulnerable devices, but you would have to send a lot of packets, and like thousands of packets a minute, or maybe it was a second, I don't remember. And then you were getting a rate of about 60 bits an hour to get the data out, and it's arbitrary data, it's not like, okay, well, I want to get the password data, so let's get that password data out. You don't get to pick and choose what you're pulling out.
It's like once a minute. True. Wait a minute. False. Every bit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So not a whole lot of use out of this. Fortunately, it's very, very small time in terms of how bad the vulnerability is. And another upside is the fact that this was actually discovered not long after the initial Spectre vulnerability was found, and it was when the patch for those came out. A patch also came out for NetSpectre. We're just now getting the report on NetSpectre that is just now coming out. So if you want to read more on that, they've got some more links in that article to more data. So Kaspersky has found a malware called PowerGhost. The name or the title for the slide, Ghost in the Shell. It's a reference. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. But I said that because this malware is actually not running as a file, it's running as a shell script. And the way that this malware stays hidden is because it uses all these different fileless techniques in order to just run in memory and to keep itself hidden, so that things like antivirus softwares, a lot of them, how they operate is they go through and they scan files for like MD5 hashes and stuff, and they see what matches their database and what doesn't. That's how a lot of antivirus searching goes on. And so by staying fileless, you can avoid a lot of that. What this does is it goes through and it would ideally infect some sort of device on a corporate network, just a large network that's got a lot of stuff it can spread to. And then from there, it tries to spread itself onto everything, workstations and servers alike, that's on that network. And it's going to try and stay hidden while it mines cryptocurrency for whoever the attacker is. They've also included a link within the article that discusses how you see a fall in the amount of ransomware being used and an increase in crypto miners. If you like that sort of thing, you can check it out. I've just got a list of the different modules that we've seen in there. One of those you might recognize, Mimikatz. It's something that we've gone over last fall, I believe. We had a meeting on Mimikatz. It was about cracking passwords in Windows.
Heard the name. I wasn't here last fall. So
Okay.
Probably come up since then.
So how it works is the infection's occurring. I don't know, maybe it's like a phishing email or whatever that causes a one-line shell script to run, which will download the miner and then tell it to run. And they break down the running into a couple of different phases. There's the auto self-updating. There's its propagation to other machines on the network, where it kind of goes out like a worm. It escalates privileges in order to get the necessary privileges so that it can run the crypto miner and use the processor to do that. It establishes a foothold in the system so that it can persist even if you shut down your computer. When you restart it up again, it's going to tell the PowerShell script to restart. And then there's a payload that it's going to need to use in order to infect an executable, because if I go back a slide, you see PE injection. PE files are that's just a term for executable files. And so what they're doing is they're just injecting this miner into some sort of trusted executable file, like, I don't know, maybe it's like Microsoft Word.exe or whatever. And so it just puts the miner into this legitimate version of the software, just kind of shifts it in there. And you've got the miner running in the background while you use this software. And so that's what the payload is for. If you follow the link, you'll find their different indicators of compromise. They've got a couple of like MD5 hashes for some of the libraries and stuff like that. Okay, now I've got a lot of recommended readings for you guys. This first slide is literally just for leaks and breaches from this past week. These two, I believe, were on the same healthcare organization, UnityPoint. Dixon's car phones had a data breach. WikiLeaks had a bunch of Twitter chats leaked. LifeLock.
Like they leaked it, or they were...
No, they got leaked. That was kind of the thing. It's like, these guys are normally the ones doing...
the leaky.
Yes, exactly. That was kind of the theme for the article. Was haha, turnabout's fair play, I guess. LifeLock is a company that's all about trying to protect your identity and let you know if your identity has been leaked. Well, they got breached.
You guys all know about LifeLock CEO, right? Former CEO?
I'm not sure which story specifically you're talking about.
If you Google his name, you can find his SSN, because he put it on their ads. Because he was like, our product's so secure, I'll put out my social security number. And he's had, like, his credit score is garbage. He's had, like, 50 loans taken out in his name. And it was just, like, a terrible idea.
Right, I remember this. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that. And Reddit has just found out about a possible data breach from back in 2007. So if you have not changed your password for Reddit since 2007, they recommend that you go and do that.
My name is Todd Davis, and my social security number is 457-55-5462.
Oh my God.
That was the ad they put out, and they know of at least 13 times his identity was stolen.
Oh my God. So the Google Play Store has now banned any apps that use cryptocurrency mining. You guys might remember the what are they called that I talked about in the recommended reading from last week, the little key fobs.
Oh yeah, they didn't ban like
YubiKeys
cryptocurrency mining. It was there was an app that was like doing it secretly, wasn't there? Or was that something else? Though that was Steam. It was Steam. There was an app. Okay.
Yeah, Google is banning cryptocurrency mining Android apps from the Play Store.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a game on Steam that was like, it's like a game. It was like pencil drawings. It was like the simplest graphics, and it was running at like full CPU, full GPU.
I remember.
And the guy was like, "It's post-processing effects."
I think it was a game that the streamer Ice Poseidon made a game, and it did that. Yeah.
That was just this week though.
Oh, just this week? Okay, no. The story I'm thinking of was like 6
Ice
weeks ago.
Poseidon is a whole. I could spend a whole meeting talking about this ridiculous crap.
Yeah. Serious. So you guys might remember the fact that Google uses like a form of YubiKey that I talked about last week, or what is it? Is it called YubiKey?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're actually going to start selling the version that they use. They call it the Titan Security Key, and it's going to be for sale for people that are Google Cloud customers. So, woohoo, I guess, if you love those YubiKeys or whatever. Google is now getting ready to be available in China again. They are going to release a censored version of their search engine that's going to follow the Google Great Wall of China firewall rules, I guess. So they'll be getting a lot of use in China again. I'm sure they're very happy about that. HP is offering it's not quite a bug bounty, just like a hacking reward. If you manage to hack one of their printers, they'll pay you. I imagine it's only a printer that is a certain age or older, or certain very specific printers, probably. The OneDrive Android app is going to feature fingerprint authentication, and inmates managed to hack a tablet app that is for inmates who are in prison, so that they can buy like educational materials and such and use them on these tablets so they can communicate with their families. Well, they managed to get like $260-something thousand in credits on here. It was like over 300 inmates managed to I'm forgetting the word. I guess hack it. I'll just say hack it. That's not the word I'm looking for. But
Yeah.
in order to get these credits, exploit it. That's the word.
Exploit. There you
Yes.
go. We know what you meant.
Yes.
Can I, by the way, I found the link for this Steam game. You have to see the picture of this game.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just posted it here. Yeah.
You're probably gonna want to put it on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So here's the game. You can see very, very intense, difficult graphics, and so it was.
What they're not telling you is that's actually 8K.
Yeah. The developer claimed it was like someone pointed out this game uses a lot of CPU and GPU, and the guy actually claimed there was post-processing effects rendering. Like what post-process is like the shadow in the corners? Maybe is that what you're? And so Valve has taken down a bunch of games for that. Anyway, I'll cede the throwing back the cord.
There's a new Chrome extension so that if you visit a website, it will give you a notification on if that site has recently been hacked, which will be really nice for like if this manages to stay up to date on things, because a lot of times what will happen is a company will just put out some news that says, hey, we got breached, we recommend you change your passwords. And then that's it. They don't put any sort of notifications actually on the website for when people visit it. They don't really try to get the information out there. So, if you're using something not quite like Facebook, because if Facebook gets breached, everyone hears about that because they're so big. But if it's maybe something a little bit smaller, like, I don't know, let's say 4chan got breached, maybe you would still hear about that, but it's maybe not quite as big as Facebook. So you visit 4chan and you don't necessarily realize, because they don't want to tell a lot of people that they've been breached, because they've seen that over half of all companies that announce that they've been breached see a drop in the usage of their services, which tends to make sense because they got breached. You don't want to get breached again. And so when you go to these sites, the extension will tell you, hey, these guys have recently been breached. We recommend that you change your information. So that'll be really good for people who aren't necessarily staying up to date on that sort of thing. There's an iPhone hacking software that was being used to attack Saudi Arabian activists and I guess people who are like dissenting the government or whatever. Sandsam ransomware has stolen something like $6 million. I think that's Kikiko is how that's supposed to be pronounced, but Kitcoin got
Maybe Kick ICO.
Maybe, I don't know. But it's called Kitcoins is the name of the cryptocurrency itself. Their provider had been hacked, and then we've seen a couple of state and local government agencies have been receiving letters that seem to be from China. They've got like Mandarin characters randomly in the letter and stuff, and these letters are all containing CDs that have malware on them. I don't think anyone fell for it, but they weren't saying that no one fell for it, so maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Cliff, you wanna do your? Oh,
Yeah.
yes, there is. The 1 week I'm like, ha, AJ's not here. I don't have to hook it up.
I plan on getting a new laptop, hopefully with HDMI or something.
DisplayPort. I recently discovered the wonder of
Well, I have a mini DisplayPort, but I don't think that we have an adapter for
Do you have
that.
an HDMI to mini DisplayPort, maybe? You could use that instead.
Huh? I've got
HDMI to mini
VGA.
Okay, cool.
If Cliff doesn't want to do his thing, I could hook up my RetroPie and you could just watch me play Pokemon for the rest of the day.
This will be short enough that we can do both.
And you'll be like, why was our meeting 4 hours long yesterday? Oh, Corey had a lot of trouble beating the first gym in Pokemon. Turns out he's really bad at it.
Okay, sweet. Alright.
Hey.
I hope that I can actually, like, shrink or make that bigger.
Command plus probably. Might be command.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Alright, so MSF Venom.
You have a weird shell prompt.
Yeah, I know, it's custom.
What OS are you using?
Arch.
What name? Is that just like a default for Arch?
What?
There's a dark theme, and then, yeah.
That's just standard GNOME dark theme.
Yeah.
With the terminal and everything?
The
yeah,
terminal
I think the
is-
default terminal's transparent.
Yeah.
He's had some fun with his PS1 variable in his bash RC.
I really have. I'm running Zeesh, and then like I had to find something to make the terminal transparent. It took a while. But so MSF Venom is a malicious payload encoder and generator. So pretty much there's a bunch of shell code for exploits in a database that is built into Metasploit. And when you download Metasploit, you get MSF Venom 2, and you can generate a bunch of payloads or just like raw text that you can use in attacks.
Is that Chromium?
That is Chromium.
Oh man, you've got a whole icon pack going on.
Alright, so actually I'm just gonna.
I like how you got that previous command.
Yeah, it's the most useful thing ever. So you can actually just list all of the payloads that you could use, which is actually a sizable amount, so it takes a minute. But let's see if I can. It doesn't look clean, but yeah, there's a lot of them. And there's a bunch of formats too. And actually, I was having a little bit of fun with the PS1 format because you can just, let's see.
PS1 of you guys is the variable that defines that his prompt looks like.
It's also the extension for PowerShell scripts.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you were.
So if I just do this,
Just ignore me. I'm still staring at the pretty colors and pipe characters.
so I'll make this a little bit bigger, but this is a malicious PowerShell script that will spawn Meterpreter in PowerShell or in that thread. And what Meterpreter is one of the best consoles that is out there for connecting to a computer remotely, or yeah.
is it only capable of doing the MSF console, or is it also able to do like just a regular reverse shell?
Yes, you and actually that is what I'm going to show in 1 minute, because I can get a shell back onto my machine. Let's see. Hopefully that'll work. I already have it there. Alright, so if I, on this terminal, just run test attack, and hopefully, yeah, no core dump, then so Metasploit, you can just put in all of the commands that you would normally run for like when you actually got into the session, and you can just have it run all of them straight from the start, which is really, really nice. But now I have a shell back onto my machine. Doesn't have a nice fancy prompt or anything, but if I were to throw an executable onto any other machine on the network and have it try to connect back to my machine, then I would just be able to open it up from here.
What?
Yeah, and that's generally, that's it for the most part. Any questions?
So, what's the exploit it's using in order to get this payload onto?
So it's
the machine?
right now it's not actually using an exploit. It's just loading. I made it an ELF binary because I wanted to just test it out on this machine, but pretty much it just makes it an executable that only runs or only tries to connect back to my machine. And then, actually, I think that was, right here, well, it says lhost 192.168.115, because that was my computer at home. But you can just specify whatever computer you want to connect back to. And then it's just going, while that's in memory and running, it's just going to keep trying to connect to that. So no real exploits, and if you do it in like PowerShell or something, then antivirus won't pick it up or anything because it's already in memory.
I think the idea here is you already have an exploit to get onto the machine, and this is just like you want an executable to do X, but you don't want to bust out Python and write it.
So you've already gotten in the machine, you're just making the payload to get a shell in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this would be like the payload that you try to throw into an exploit.
Okay, so this is just like if I were making something in Metasploit in order to compromise a machine, like this is just what it runs when I'm doing the payload portion of. Okay.
This would be what it runs. And also there's a nice encoding function for MSF Venom that even if an executable is noticed by antivirus, you can encode it a certain number of times and it'll still have the same effect, but the shellcode will be different. So yeah.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Very.
All right.
Cool. That wasn't bad for 4 people for a meeting. Yeah, we had a good time.
Let's do some Pokemon.
Alright.
So now the question is, how can we
How can we fool AJ into thinking that there's Cubes OS on all of the Linux machines without actually using Cubes OS?
So whenever he's using his logon, we have it redirect to those servers that are running Cubes
We'll
OS.
partition all of the drives with the Cubes OS partition, and then the rest of it will be Debian.
This sounds like more work than just using cubes. I don't want to use cubes. I'm not that gung ho about it. All right.